Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to another inspiring episode of ESL VIT's official podcast, Ruminate. My name is Yatin Patni, and I will be your host for the day. It is my earnest pleasure to welcome our guest, who happens to be a visionary product developer, an innovator, and a committed entrepreneur, Mr. Sulay Lavsi. He was also a participant in the extremely popular business reality show, Shark Tank India. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thanks,
Throughout
thanks,
this
Yatin.
video,
Thanks for having.
Throughout this video, I will try to extract a perspective on entrepreneurship and product development to cater to the need of various budding entrepreneurs who have tuned in for the podcast. Without further ado, let us begin. Sir, can you tell
Abs-
the viewers a little about your profile and the project you're currently working on?
Sure, Yatin. So, we founded Bummer roughly about 2 years ago, and we're actually completing 2 years in sometime this March. So not exactly 2 years per se, but it's been one hell of a ride. Very exciting. Primarily, we have started off as underwear brand. I think the focus always was to build underwear for millennials. It's a category creation environment, right? For so long, underwear has been a market which was very dull, plain, boring. And our focus was how do we disrupt this market to cater to the urban millennial and at the same time add a sustained tinge of sustainability to it, quirky designs, bold prints, include that as a part of our communication also. And so that's primarily what we've built. We are very driven by product and will always be driven by product. So yeah, that's primarily what the last three odd years of my life have gone into.
Okay, sir. All right. So, sir, what do you think are the most essential skills required to run a company efficiently?
Um, I think if you okay, so the very first skill I think is persistence and perseverance, which I feel, why today you will hear all these facts saying most startups end up failing. For example, 95 or 96% of the startups end up failing. And core reason for that is because you give up too early. So I think perseverance and persistence are very, very important aspects. Having the right skill set to build the right team. That's, I think, my point number two. Uh, uh, Having the ability to scout talent in a way that no one else can. That can go such a long way because without a team, you're practically nothing as a company. Um, and I think the third and the fact that I feel is the most important one is that do not like what you do not think what I'm doing is good, do not think what I'm doing is great. Fall in love with what you're doing, right? I think falling in love is the most important aspect. Liking and having a motivation to doing something is secondary. Falling in love is what is primary.
Okay. Okay. All right, sir. So when did you actually decide that you want to build your own brand, and how did you start to go about it? Like when the idea struck.
So when the idea actually struck, Yatin, I was actually studying in America. I was getting my master's in entrepreneurship, and the course was primarily revolving around building your own company, right? So I was meeting founders from Silicon Valley. I was meeting venture capitalists from Silicon Valley all the time, right? So because of that, I think the entrepreneurial mindset was always there. And this is roughly about 3 years ago in 2018. If I'm, yeah, 2018 is when I was in America and had this wild idea of building underwear for India, right? Whenever I spoke to friends, family, the first thing was ki, what is underwear in India? And the first answer was jockey. Like everyone thought it was jockey, so it was a monopolistic market or even a oligopolistic market, for example. So there was very large scope for disruption. And that's when I thought about doing this. And I had a job at the time in apparel production. I was working with a startup in LA which was into apparel production. So I left that job and I moved back here. Started working on Bummer. Took me about a year to do R&D on the product, building the brand, etc., etc. And then we started the brand roughly about 2 years ago.
Okay. Sir, how was your experience at Shark Tank pitching for Bummer?
It was, I mean, this is the most obvious question, but yeah, it was super exciting, man. Very exhilarating being in front of excellent entrepreneurs from the country. And I think also at the same time, being in front of so many lights, camera, with the whole attention on you. Um, I think that's also a very exciting experience per se. So yeah, for sure. I think very exciting, very nerve-wracking experience. Whether we got the deal or not would have been secondary. I think just the fact that you're putting your brand out or your company out in front of millions of people, the idea of that in itself is so exciting.
Yes,
So
definitely.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, nothing but good words about how the experience has been.
Okay. So, sir, adding on to that, as you already had raised money before Shark Tank, how would you differentiate your experience pitching in front of other investors as compared to the almighty sharks?
I think Yatin, all investors in your eyes are almighty, right? Whether it's the sharks themselves or whether it's a venture capital, or even if it's a set of angels who you are pitching to, right? So I think everyone is almighty. The only difference is that when you're doing it on Shark Tank, you are in a certain atmosphere, you are in a certain stage which is outside of your comfort zone. You as an entrepreneur have never been in front of, on a set or in front of so many lights and camera and so much preparation and stuff like that. So I think that's the differentiation factor. But if you can hold your confidence in an atmosphere like that, it's practically the same as you would pitching to a regular investor on a Zoom call, for example. So those are the key differentiation factors, I would say.
So, one question is that as you have invested as you have taken investments from other people also, are all investments like Shark Tank have investors putting in a pinch of drama to get the investment? Are all investments like that? Like you have to have a little bit of fun around, or is it all wisey words and descriptions?
No, I think there is certain set of drama. There is a certain stage of, but it is, I would not call it drama per se, right? I think it is a stage of negotiation when you're raising a regular round. It is a stage of negotiation. It is a stage of going back and forth. It is a stage of going, having multiple discussions around your valuation, for example, or around um, how much you're raising, what you're raising, and so on and so forth. With Shark Tank, I think it was pretty obvious that they had to add drama. Otherwise, how do you reach the masses, right? So it's a business in itself that you're doing some format of dramatization to reach a wider audience. If as a brand also today, I do something controversial on my social media, I do something risky on my social media or wherever, then automatically it's going to start grabbing more eyeballs, right? So I think it's the same. Like Shark Tank in itself is a business per se, right? But at the same time, it's driving entrepreneurship for millions and millions of people across the country too. So it's a win-win situation on both verticals, to be honest.
Surely, sir. So, we, the audience, and even the judges agreed to some extent that your presentation stood apart from the rest of the participants. What do you think goes into making of an intriguing presentation? Can you give the viewers some tips?
Sorry, can you repeat your question, Yatin?
So, sir, what do you think goes into making of an intriguing presentation like yours at Shark Tank? Can you give the viewers some tips?
So I think as far as your pitch is concerned, right, and I have practiced my pitch 100 times before I went into the tank, and also practiced my pitch another 100 times when we were raising our previous round, which was a venture round from B Next. Um, uh, Obviously, those pitches were on Zoom calls, really realistically. Um, but I think what is the one thing in a great pitch is how do you tell a story. I'm not selling you my brand, I'm not selling you my product, I'm not telling you, I don't need to tell you, okay, I've made XYZ numbers, my market is $10 billion big or whatever. Is my story engaging enough? It's primarily two components. Is my story of how I found this problem, how I'm solving it, and at the same time why I am the right person to build this brand or company. If you are answering these questions correctly, then it's already a successful pitch, no matter what product or business or service you are building.
Okay. All right, sir. So, sir, there was a time during your pitch when suddenly a few of your words ignited a shield. Tell us how were you able to keep your nerve at that time?
I was not able to keep my nerve. I was not, right. It's practically impossible when you are under so much pressure to stay calm, to stay cool. And I obviously tried my best to stay calm. Uh, and what you see on screen is obviously the edited version of things, right? The pitch obviously went on a little longer, and there were some heated comments, but I think in the end it was fine. It was all happy faces because we got the deal anyways. Um, but I think what is very important is that uh, he saw a different angle of it. I saw a different angle of it. I was there for taking funds from particular sharks because they could help me with problems. I was not there just to take the funds. कि कोई भी पैसा दे रहा है दे दो आप. That was not the perspective, which was taken in the wrong manner. So I don't think I did anything wrong or said anything wrong, even if it was taken in a wrong way. But I think all ended well. Since if we got the deal, it's, I mean, hardly matters.
Okay. All right, sir. Sir, it was pretty evident from your pitch that a company's equity is valued very highly, as we saw you fighting for even 0.5%. How important do you think is the ownership of equity for any startup in general?
I think very important, right? It is probably the one most important thing uh, that you need to hold on to if you're passionate about what you're building. If you could bootstrap a company throughout its entire journey, I think there's nothing like it. Looking back, if I could bootstrap completely, I would do it. Um, right? Because um, having that level of ownership and sense of ownership of the company is very satisfying till a certain extent. But in my current situation, obviously, holding on to that 0.5% also is so important. The reason being because I know we will go out, raise more rounds, raise more capital in the future, and at that point in time we will also take dilution. So even if 0.5% is sounds minuscule, I would have even fought for 0.1% if that was the case. I would have fought for it. Right, that's how important it is. So now, I mean, how much you should value the equity. If at all you are at a stage like this, then if you think about it very realistically, if as an entrepreneur you believe that your company could potentially become 1,000 crore company in the next 5 years or 10 years, whatever, if that's the vision and aim you have, then imagine what that 0.5% could realistically mean, as your stake in the company. So it's very important. Absolutely.
Okay. So, replying to you, I would definitely would like to be at the state at which you are right now. I would love that. Also, yes, moving on to the next question. As we all know and see, you started to build your own brand and strive for excellence at a very young age. What instance ignited that zeal in you? Since most of our viewers watching are in that youth age gap, is there any advice you would like to give them?
Yeah, I mean, man, Yatin, I think um, there are so many people in the ecosystem who started brands, companies at a very old age, or even very way younger ages than even I am, right? Like I'm 27 today. There are people who started companies at 18, 19, 20 years old also, and gone on to become way more successful than what we even are today. Um, so I think age is sort of like a very minuscule barrier in terms of you being passionate as an entrepreneur. One key thing what I want to try and say is that, and this is what pushed me to go out and build, is that this is practically the age where you can do any bloody thing, without having the uh, pressure of not being able to deliver. You could fail. I mean, big deal. You would probably end up losing some of your savings, or some of your dad's savings, or some of your family's savings. But if that's a security that gives you, and you spend 2 3 4 years of your life building something and it fails even after that, it's fine. It's completely fine. It's But what those 2 3 4 years have taught you is way, way, way more valuable than what an MBA will teach you. So instead of you going out and saying, Ki, I'll spend 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs on getting an MBA from a tier 1 or a tier 2 college, do a startup. Like, that's very simple for me. If you have 20 lakhs to spend on an MBA program, even if you're going to take a loan for it, take that loan and build your own company. Don't do a startup. Your startup is automatically an MBA.
Okay.
I mean, I'm very, very brutal
Okay, sir.
about it.
So,
I know there will be a lot of MBA aspirants hanging around here, but it's only a question of you figuring out कि MBA ज्यादा important है life में कि actually खुद का करना कुछ important है life में. What is more important? At the end of the day, the cost of doing both is going to be the same.
okay, okay. I'm going out of here, changing a lot of my ideologies, I'm sure. Okay, sir. As it's been some time since you started Bama, how have your priorities changed from when you first started?
So I think overall, I mean, priorities in terms of um, managing work, managing overall life balance, obviously drastically, right? Spending that time with friends, family has drastically gone down. Off lately, even more. But I think that's a part and parcel of it, right? Um, Whether you are a 1 crore company, or 100 crore company, or 1,000 crore company, the effort that you put in is 24/7, right? ऐसा नहीं है कि 1,000 crore की company है तो he's working even harder than you, or he or she is working even harder than you, right? The journey is the same. So I think the definitely takes a toll, especially being a solo founder. It takes an even bigger toll on you, mentally, emotionally, physically. But yeah, try to keep up with my priorities, but sort of right now, basically at this stage and still, Bummer has become sort of 24/7 lifestyle. Even if probably I'm sleeping at night, the dreams are about Bummer. Ki acha kal kya hoga, what will happen in 6 months, right? And that also translates back into the point ki you actually this goes to say that you actually fallen in love with what you're doing, and right, that you even dream about it. It's not a very healthy situation also, I would say. Sometimes you need to take step back and relax also in life. But yeah, this is primarily what's how sort of priorities have taken an overall space in my mind.
Okay, so sir, a follow-up to what you said. So how important do you think breaks are in the life of an entrepreneur? Like, do you value breaks a lot, or you think that there are no breaks and you just go with the flow?
Oh, breaks are 100% important. 100% very, very important. We roughly about a year ago, um, we we were operating out of a small office, and no, everyone was like throughout the office. Everyone was just like coming to office, opening laptops, and getting right down to it, right? So what I did was, I mean, we got a small dartboard in the office. It's not something which is very big. It's not something that takes up too much time, but every day 4:30 p.m. we have a fixed time that we'll go, and the whole team will gather, and we'll spend 15-20 minutes playing darts, competing with each other, right? So even small stuff like this can have a very large impact on motivation, team building per se. So I think, yeah, when you're in office, 100% focus and commitment towards work, but that 15-20 minutes every few hours is very, very important to get distracted and let your mind free flow.
Okay, so sir, if I get a chance to play a game with you, I'm surely not playing darts because I'll lose 100%.
नहीं, नहीं, I'm horrible. I'm horrible at darts. I'm horrible.
Okay. As many Indians still think in conservative ways, what were some of the wayward comments you received when you decided to start an underwear brand? Like, how did you deal with them?
So I think it is weird, right? When I told my parents for the first time that I want to sell underwear, right? It was a funny reaction. Like, it was not an unsupportive reaction. It was just a funny reaction. कि यार क्या करेगा underwear बेच के? That's the sort of uh, uh, reaction I got. Um, but I think if you have conviction, right? Because at the end of the day, you can sell anything under the sun. If there's a large enough market for it, whatever you're selling does not matter. Um, Today there are brands, companies, large scale organizations doing stuff from across weirdest of things. Some underwear, lingerie, uh, sanitary pads, and these are large corporations. So I think that whole taboo of building anything that is intimate, private, sensual, sexual, by no means, first and foremost, Bummer is a sexual or a sensual brand in any way. That was never really the approach. But in any case, anything in that market, you have to realize that if the business opportunity is there, then convincing anyone or not letting people's emotions drive you is very easy, as long as you show them that there is a solid business here. You can get into anything. So I got, but anyways, like overall, funny reaction from my parents in the first time. But after I showed them a business plan, what I was building, how I wanted to build it, um, very, very supportive after that.
Okay. So, so as per you, what importance does the comments of critics or close people have when you build a startup? Do you bother to listen to them, or you choose to ignore them?
I think it's very important to listen to them, because the initial few comments that you get are practically the most important ones. And also what I would say is, at any given point in time, um, more than friends and family, your first few consumers or first few customers are your biggest critiques, right? So at Bummer also, when we had started off, we were probably doing maybe like 5 6 or maybe 10 12 orders in a single day, and we were a very small team, and I was calling customers frantically, everyone who, all those 10 people who placed an order, I was calling everyone, right? And I was trying to understand from them, um, not what you like about the product, but what you don't like about the product, right? The first question is not about what you like. The first question is about what you don't like. And understanding their lifestyle. How can your product fulfill their lifestyle needs? So that sort of criticism absolutely builds the brand and drives feedback, and based on that feedback is when you keep building and keep improving. It could also come from friends and family for sure, but I personally feel your first few customers feedback makes a lot more impact.
Okay. Okay. So, which shark did you want to impress with your presentation the most before entering the tank, and why?
uh, I think Aman was definitely at the top of my list. Yeah, matlab, he is a fantastic guy, from what I had heard at that point in time. Very relevant from a D2C angle also for me. Um, he has built a massive corporation in the D2C space. So yeah, Aman, man, like Aman was top of my list. But and I'm so glad I got Aman at the end also. He's absolutely brilliant.
Okay. Uh, how does a typical day look like for a resolute entrepreneur like yourself?
Well, typical day off lately, I've been trying. I mean, not trying. I have been sort of active. So I mean, I'm not a very early riser or anything. So this is not the story you will hear कि हाँ बंदा 5-6 बजे उठ के ये कर रहा है वो कर रहा है. That's not me. Unless I'm sure there are millions of others like that, but that's not me. But yeah, I'm like I ideally get up at about 7:38 and have a quick workout um, till about 9 ish. And post that, obviously I'm in office till like 8:39 ish at least. And office is practically everything. um, I'm here through the whole day, working alongside teams, and recruiting is also like a big part of what I do at this point in time, because we are rapidly expanding the team. Still a very small team, but still expanding very rapidly. So that's and by the time I'm out of office, the day has practically ended. You go home, have dinner, um, and you're just finishing up for going back to sleep. It's a slightly monotonous life. It's a slightly monotonous life.
So, sir, this goes on 7 days a week.
This goes on 7 days a week. Sundays, I'm I'm in office till sort of like half day, not the entire day. But yeah, we work 6 days a week with the team at least. Sundays primarily half the team is in office and half of them are not. Off lately, but Sundays are primarily half days, and then evenings are for relaxing. I'm going out with friends, family, whatever. I mean,
Okay. So, sir, lastly, how would you define success financially or in general terms?
um, I think there is no real definition of success per se, especially not from um, like I think monetary gain is very very important, but at the same time I think success primarily means validation. It does not mean anything else. um, when you feel that a certain few set
Okay.
of people reaching out to you, sending your wishes, sending you regards about what you're doing or what you have done with life, and just appreciating you. And when that pool is so large that you are overwhelmed with the response, is when you should actually feel that, okay, I have done something meaningful with life.
Okay.
Whether you're driving a Maruti 800 or a Lamborghini, I think those things are predominantly secondary. But when you have this validation, I think opportunity will automatically follow and money will automatically follow. I'm not saying I'm not the kind of guy who thinks that money can't buy you happiness. That's honestly a terrible quote. That's a
That's
terrible
fine.
quote. Yeah, that's a terrible quote. ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है, वो बिल गेट्स ने बोल दिया एक बार लाइफ में, बट नहीं होता ऐसा.
उनके खुद के पास इतने पैसे हैं.
हाँ, जो जिसके पास बहुत पैसा होता है ना, वही ऐसा बोलता है कि मनी कांट बाय हैप्पीनेस. सो आई डोंट बिलीव दैट.
Okay. Okay. So, sir, now as an addition to this Ruminate podcast, we are going to play a little rapid fire with you. So, for those of our viewers who don't know what a rapid fire is that I'll rapidly ask the questions and he has to answer them in as minimum words as possible. So, sir, should we start?
Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, three things you love to do when you're not working.
Listening to music, reading a book, and probably watching Netflix.
Okay. So, sir, who do you admire the most?
Oh, tough question. Off lately, Aman Gupta. Big fan. If he's listening, he should. If in case he ends up listening to this, do send this to him on his DM. But yeah, I mean, being super inspired by Aman off lately, so I would put him on the top of the list.
So Aman would have 100 games by the end of the day. Promise. Okay. So, if a movie were to be made of a family, what genre would it be?
Comedy drama, like a
Okay. Like
mix.
yes. Sir.
Yeah.
Okay. And who would play you?
Who would play me? Oh, who do I look like? A lot of my friends have always said that my style of walking and the way I position myself looks a little like Salman Khan, but I think that's so. I don't think I'm like that. But I think the best answer here could potentially be him, even though it's a very off character. Very off character.
Yeah. Okay. But okay, something different for Salman as well. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Night person.
Okay. One thing that annoys you the most.
People who are not punctual.
Okay. Pardon, sir. Can you please repeat what is this?
People who are not punctual, like just generally non-punctual schedules.
Okay. Okay, sir. So, what's the one thing you're terrible at?
I am terrible at maintaining constant connection with friends, family. I have become terrible at it. Yeah. So I mean, off the top of my head.
Okay. Okay, sir. So, sir, coming to the Shark Tank segment of the rapid fire, who is the most responsive shark?
Namita, actually.
Most patient shark?
Anupam Mittal.
The most intimidating shark?
I mean, you know, I mean, do I even need to answer this? Ashneer, obviously. I mean, yeah.
Yes. So, the one word that comes to your mind when I say Vinita.
Vinita, composed,
Aman Gupta.
funny,
Okay. And Ashneet Grover.
straightforward.
Okay. So, what qualities of the sharks did you admire the most while you were in the tank?
Sorry, can you repeat?
What qualities of the shark did you admire the most while you were in the tank?
Of all the sharks, you mean?
Yes, yes. Collectively.
Collectively, I think they are all like coming from vast different experiences of building their own businesses. So I think the learning that they were imparting in the tank was very important for any entrepreneur who went out and stood in front of them, because everyone had their collective inputs in terms of their experiences in life of how they built their own businesses. So I think the way they have tried to educate also the entrepreneur, not just give them funding and say ki हाँ okay ठीक है आपका pitch अच्छा है पैसा ले लो. I think they have tried to impart a lot of learning, which I think is fantastic how they've done it.
Okay. In 2 words, sir, how did you feel when you entered the tank?
Nervous and excited, both at the same
And
time.
how did you feel when you were leaving the tank?
Only
2 words.
excited. Only excited.
Okay. And so the last question for the rapid fire is, if you get a chance if you get an option between becoming a Bollywood actor and an Indian team cricketer, what would you choose?
Can I choose neither of the two?
Okay. Okay, sir.
Yeah, I mean, not my cup of tea, but to give you an answer, probably a cricketer compared to an actor for sure.
Okay. So that is an end to an exciting rapid fire round. Thank you for being such a sports sir.
Thanks.
That's a, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I'm certain everyone who attended the podcast today are highly motivated by you. We humbly thank you for sharing your valuable time with us. Thank you, viewers, for attending this podcast. I hope you all show Sulay some love by supporting his brand in all ways that you can. Please like this podcast, drop in your comments, and stay tuned for our next episode. Subscribe and do not forget to hit the bell icon for more updates from ESL VIT. It's your host, Yatin Partney, signing off.